guys, I'm Madeline Harvey. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. We're going to talk about vocal strengths. What are they? And how can we find ours? So if you like today's video, be sure to give it a thumbs up or click that subscribe button below. I would love to see you here more often. The video that you're about to see was taken as a clip from a live lesson that was shot earlier today. If you'd like to watch the entire live, which is about an hour in length, I invite you to click that join button below and become a member of this channel. As a member, you'll have exclusive access to all of our lives that we do every Monday and Thursday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. Now, if that's way too late for you or way too early for you, fear not. You can access our members only area with over 70 plus hours worth of vocal lessons. So again, just click that join button. It's only $4.99 a month. And your contribution helps to support our channel. That way we can continue to deliver awesome content for you. You ready to get started? Here we go. Yes, I thought we would have a wonderful live today, a nice little discussion talking about vocal strengths. What are they? Why should we even go looking for our own vocal strengths? What are vocal strengths? How might we apply our vocal strengths? So the idea of taking stock of a strength can be so affirming in your growth as a singer. It can be so, oh my gosh, it can be so grounding in your authenticity as a singer. But I want to start first, before I get going, because I'm so glad to see you all popping in. I also want to let you guys know that we have just launched our endurance module for Skillshare. We have endurance part 1 and part 2. We're so excited about that. And we hope that you'll check that out. And if you are a new member, we're so glad that you're here. We do these lives every Monday and Thursday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. So if you can, be sure to hang out with us then. And if you can't, we can just check it out in the members only area. So all right, so let me rewind and get back to my thought about strengths. There is this myth that a lot of singers are guilty of. And it's just the belief that you should be focusing primarily on your vocal weaknesses. You should be always on the lookout for exposing any vocal weakness so you can seek it out and you can make it a strength. Well, that's all well and good, except it can kind of leave you in this perpetual chasing your tail kind of thing. And furthermore, it can really confuse you as a singer. It can really confuse you in terms of what your gifts are. So it is that spirit that I wanted to make this video today. So we have a couple of things to talk about today. We've laid it out like this. We want to talk about what are the benefits of discovering your vocal strengths. What are the categories that vocal strengths fall into? They're technical and their performance, and I would even add a third and say like more character driven. And then how might you go about finding your vocal strengths? And once you've found them, how could you apply them? So that's my agenda for today's live. Everybody down with that? And if you have any additional things that you want to add, please feel free. I'm all about making this a forum where we can all explore together. So what are the benefits of knowing your vocal strengths? Well, first and foremost, this is the one that I'm interested in. Knowing your vocal strengths can keep you from injury. And I see this so much with singers, so much that we try to be everything to everyone. We try to have 5 octave, 6 octave ranges, and it's that kind of pressure is not always conducive of learning. It's not always conducive of really being rooted in that authenticity. So knowing your vocal strengths and starting from there keeps you from vocal injury. You're starting at a place you're already strong, and so you can build from there. It also gives you a place to start from stylistically. And this one is really important to me because I have found that style is like a spirit. Just go with me on this one. Like your style is almost like it's got a mind of its own, a spirit of its own, and it wants to express. So you may notice that things evolve, but there are some stylistic components that are really consistent, really, really, really consistent. So you want to pay attention to those, lean in on those. That will ground you in your style and give you a start place to build from. And I've said this before. I've said this a few times before. Knowing your strengths will ground you in your authenticity. And I'm going to say that a lot in today's live. I truly, truly feel it. Even though you as the listener might be going, I don't quite know what that is, but I'm down. I'm down for discovering more about that. Knowing your strengths will ground you in your authenticity. If you think about this for just a second, like what is authenticity? I've got two definitions for it, and they're kind of the same. One is being completely and unapologetically present. Like, yeah, it's what happens when you're just completely and unapologetically present, meaning there's nothing about you that is being censored or modified to fit where you are. So that's how I feel authenticity is. And so from a technical perspective, what is that like? How would you find that in your voice? Well, take everything away. Take everything away from your voice. What's left is authenticity. Now, I need to be just a little clearer about that. Take all the anxieties away from your voice. Like if you feel like I need to do this, or I need to do that, or I need to be loud, or I need to be this way, or blah, 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 blah. Like all those things. Take all that away. And what is left is you. Now, that may be a tiny, tiny, tiny little something, but it will ground you in what is most authentically you. So you don't have to bend your voice out of shape every time you sing a different song. Every time you try to go to a different open mic night, or maybe you're writing a new piece and you want to diversify. It's like you already know what your authenticity is. It will ground you and it will keep you steady. Favorite one, this is my favorite one, and this is true, so true. Knowing your vocal strengths is what differentiates you as an artist. We all have different strengths. We all have different abilities. We all have different skills. You know, it's like, how many times can we just watch people do like crazy fast runs before it's like, what else you got? If we all were good at the same thing, it would be boring. It's like going to see like an art exhibit, but everything's painted just the same color blue. That would be weird, right? So knowing your strengths is what differentiates you from other singers. And finally, you'll have more fun. That's true, true, true. You'll grow faster. You'll have more confidence, and you'll see your results. So those are the benefits of vocal strengths. Now, we're going to get into it. Now I'm just taking, I made a list. I just kind of grouped everything together. But if you want to add things to this list, I want you guys to talk about it, get that mind thinking about it, because oftentimes our strengths are subtle, they're small, they're not right in our face. Sometimes they are, but sometimes they're not. So we got to dig a little bit. So I put these in two categories: technical and performance. So when we look at technical, we're looking at the components of your voice itself and the behaviors of your voice itself. How does that behavior indicate a strength? So for example, you might have a really big range. That happens all the time. You can move your voice up and down a really big range. That may be a vocal strength. You may have a really movable voice, so it's flexible and it's agile. You can be very quick with your voice. You may be really good at hitting pitch. So if you guys, if I say anything, you guys want to write that down, write it down, and then kind of use it as a litmus test for later. So I've got range, flexibility or agility, like yeah, like agility, being quick with something. Pitch accuracy. Strength. Your voice. I was at Mass last night, and I was in the very, very back because my husband was running the AV live streaming. And there was this guy in the very front row of the sanctuary. Very front row. He looked like a Viking. He's huge. And I could just hear this big, bellowy voice, just gigantic voice, just, yeah, all the way from the back. And he wasn't being very loud. It's just he had strength in his voice. And I got a little jealous, if I'm being honest. Yeah. So he had a really strong voice. So that's a strength. Tone. You may have a really beautiful quality of tone, or you may have a really quirky quality of tone or interesting quality of tone. I'd like you to look at tone as not so much painting it with the same brush of beauty, because we can get lost in that. And we get so lost in trying to be pretty that we can contort our voice outside of the shape that's meant for us. So you may have an intriguing tone that isn't necessarily beautiful, but might be really, really interesting. It's all about take advantage of it, right? Another strength that is technical strength is you might be good at creating vocal variety. I like this one. I like this one a lot. What that means is you can kind of play with differing voicings, like whether they're character voices if you're in musical theater or in voiceover work, or you're good at mimicking other artists and just changing the configuration ever so slightly to match what you hear the original artist singing. That's called vocal variety. So you might go, I had no idea that was a strength, but I'm pretty good at that. This is fun. It's fun to appreciate yourself. You might be really good at breath support. I have a student who's fantastic at breath support. She can just, it's like this gliding thing she does. It's so beautiful. And she can just keep going and keep going and keep going. It's really lovely, really massive strength for her. And that might be for you too. You might be really good at rhythm. I love rhythm. You might be really good at vibrato. Or you might be one of those artists. You might be one of those artists that is really good at experimenting with things. Like just trying to figure things out and try different things. And that's kind of similar to vocal variety, but I think it goes into the mind sphere just a little bit, like trying to break things down and work things out that way. So let me run through this list for you if you want to hear it again. We've got range, flexibility, agility, pitch accuracy, strength, tone consistency. I totally forgot that one. You may have no problem whatsoever in between your register shifts. Vocal variety, meaning you can change your voicings or mimic other artists really well. You might be really good at breath control, rhythm, vibrato, or just being experimental and playful. Okay? So now that we've done the technical aspects, let's break down the performance aspects. So you might go, you know what? None of those really apply to me. That's okay. That's okay. You might be a really great performer. So we're going to break down the performance aspects now. So when you think about an awesome performer, what are some things that come to your mind? I immediately think of presence. Can they bring their energy to the stage? And I did a lot of different things in my life. I did children's theater, I did musical theater, I did country music, I did classical music, I did pop music. I've been very fortunate to be able to play with a lot of different realms of things. So with children's theater, you have to bring like big energy to the stage, and some people were really good at that. I wasn't so good at that. I felt weird. It felt really weird to me. I didn't have that kind of make myself really big kind of energy and have it feel authentic to me. It just made me feel more self-aware. So for me, stage presence is more of a quiet thing. And I tend to notice that with singers. But that's not all singers that have excellent stage presence. Like someone like a Michael Jackson can come onto the stage, have an enormous presence, and it might be a quiet thing, but not so much. Or like Justin Timberlake. It's like bring that energy onto the stage in a bigger way. So you may define presence as being different from what I would define presence, or what kind of presence that you like. Now we've got confidence in yourself. That's a major, major vocal strength. It's like, what you do. And even though other people may do other things more to the extreme, ergo better, you trust your voice. There's lots and lots of really, really great songwriters, especially in the folk and the country and the rock realm, that just they do what they do and they don't compare themselves to anybody else. And they're not concerned about how someone might be better than them. They have confidence in themselves as a singer. Charisma. Yeah. I think if you have charisma and you bring that to stage, you might be able to rest on that. Yeah, just the ability to bring that vitality to the stage. These are all strengths, but you notice how these are now not so vocal related. They're more person related. It's like, what are you bringing to the stage? You have the ability to connect with people. I happen to really, really like this one. And I know that you guys have already heard this, and I'll just tell you quickly again, but a little while back we went to a string quartet Christmas concert, and there was a girl, they brought a singer onto the stage for 2 pieces, and one was Ave Maria and the other one was Oh Holy Night. Now, it is a classical setting, string quartet and all, and she sang in, she did a wonderful job singing, but I had major beef with her, because she was so concerned about the perfection of the execution that she had zero connection to anyone else in the room. Zero. And that was my major, major beef. So I noticed that since I noticed that and that rubbed me the wrong way, that must be really important to me. So I would say that ability to connect with people is a strength of mine. It's a standard of mine. It's a must for me. Drama. Some people love to bring drama. They just want to be dramatic. And that, I think that's a comfort thing too. There's a comfort zone that's like way out here. And that's great. That's a major strength for them too. Another strength is, do you have the ability to emotionally connect to your voice, to emote? I would love for us all to get to a place where we just think of singing as some sort of sexy talking. It's sexy in that it's stylized, but it feels as connected to us as our speech. So therefore, we can emote and we can just let ourselves have an authentic experience. For some people, that emoting is very easy. For others, they'd just rather not. They'd rather think more technically. This next one is, you have the ability to make the most of what you have. That sounds really limiting, but I'd like to point out an artist. Some of you guys may know her, Miranda Lambert. I really like her as an artist, but I didn't initially. But I really like her as an artist, and partly because she makes the most of what she has. She's a great singer, and the more I listen to her, the more I can appreciate her voice. But it's simple. Her voice is very simple. The way she uses it is very simple, but her gift is in her storytelling. And as such, since her focus is there, she makes the most of everything that she has. And I appreciate that. It feels very real to me. So she was the one to really help me understand that it's fine to have a really simple, straightforward kind of voice, but just make the most of what you have. It's not a limiting thing. If you focus on it and see it as a gift, it's like, wow, it can really ground you in your authenticity. See what I'm saying here? Strength. And then the last one is uniqueness. Now that one's a funny word that's up there with like authenticity, which is hard to find since so much of who we are is negotiated by what we hear as being the standard. So if I listen to Adele, I'm going to use Adele as the standard to measure myself against, right? It's funny, it's weird. But since if I make a habit of comparing myself to every singer I hear, I've lost my authenticity, my uniqueness. So, but you might be one of those people that's just so quirky and you might not fit in anywhere. And it would be a shame, a crying shame, if you saw that as a weakness, because that is uniqueness. Uniqueness is not a weakness. It's not at all. It's just being able to hone in on that and use that, make the most out of that uniqueness. Use it as the center point. It's like a center, what do they call those? Centerpieces on a table. It's like, ooh, very pretty. It's like at the center of who you are as an artist. I wanted to have this discussion because if I'm being honest, I get lost. I get so lost in hearing everybody else, and it's so easy for me to appreciate other artists. So easy. It's just so right there. I'm just always appreciating other people. But when it comes to myself, it's like, gotta work on this, I gotta work on this, I gotta work on that, and it just becomes overwhelming. So I wanted to check in as a guide. How can we find our own strengths? Is everybody good? Does everybody have anything to add? So now that we've gone through this list, this rather long list, I'm hoping it gives you some ideas of, you don't have to be a technical singer. You can be a performative singer. And yes, they do this. They overlap. Of course they do. But it's about strengths. And you're not less of a singer if you're not technical as a singer. You have just as many gifts if you're experimental, or if you're dramatic, or if you're charismatic. It comes, if you notice, we could split these two from technical and all like the checkpoints of, you may have a thing about your voice, like range or vocal variety. And then the other one is more experiential. That's the word I'm looking for. It's like the performance. It's like you're bringing something to the experience of the voice instead of just, I can do these notes. It's like, okay, you can do those notes, but now I can make you feel something when I do those notes. It's like both are important, and you may have a strength in both places. This may be one of those things where you're like, and check, and check, and check. I am awesome. I'm just killing it across all facets. That's great. That's great. I'm not one of those people. I have to check in with myself every now and again to just go, all right, well, what do I have to offer? I've got something to offer. What is it? Let me figure that out. So I will probably include this as a checklist for you guys if there's a way to add something to the lives. My husband will look into that for me. But let's get into the third section here, which is, okay, now that we know what these things are, you've probably already gone through them and gone, all right, is that me? Is that like me? Can I do that? I don't know. So how might you find your vocal strength?